Alright, welcome back to More Than PG's Gaming. I'm your host, Boone, and today I want to talk a little bit about a few things. Okay, first thing I want to talk about are the changes coming in Mod 15. Some are debatable as being good or bad. That depends on the player and how they feel like the company is handling all sorts of things, including the recent events that have transpired over the last week. I'm not going to go into details about that, but I want to get straight into this. So the big things that are changing are pretty much going to affect all players across all platforms equally. I don't know when we're going to get the official Mod 15 drop. I'm expecting probably sometime in January or even February. We'll see. Okay, typically it's January if I remember mods correctly. So what are the changes that are going on and how many of them are there? Well, I'm going to say that there's at least 15 changes, okay? And I say at least because I'm not going to count every little bit of detail of what's being changed. I did talk a little bit about professions in the previous video, but let's get straight into this, okay? So the first thing I want to talk about is Astral Diamonds. Astral Diamonds are working a little bit differently in Mod 15 in the ways that you acquire them. So first thing that you should be aware of is Astral Diamonds will be still given through your experience rewards, except for they will be less frequent in terms of jackpots, as I would put it. Okay, so you will get AD actually more frequently, just you will not get a 30,000 payout for a rough AD. It'll just give you like 1,000, 2,000, up to I believe like 5 to 10,000. We'll see exactly what those final numbers will be. It'll vary, is what I've been told and seen. People who've been playing on preview, and who knows, they might decide to scrap the entire thing and just leave it as is because it's too meddlesome. But I know they're going to be changing a lot with the experience rewards. So that's one thing to kind of look forward to. So instead of getting 30,000 rough Astro Diamonds once every 30 to 50 times, you might be getting like 1,000 every time. Okay, so it's kind of to mitigate that and make you try to level up more often, and being less of a lottery jackpot kind of thing. Okay, you will now be getting AD changes from heroic encounters. Uh, as I've heard, it's not very much. Again, it's just like the experience rewards. It's a little bit. It's trying to entice you to actually play content to actually get AD and have a variety of AD. Okay. Our third change is you'll be able to get AD from the seal vendor. Okay. And you might be thinking, it's like, why do I want to trade in seals for AD? I have salvage that I need to get AD. Well, that brings me to the fourth change. Salvage will no longer be giving you AD. It instead will be transferred over to turning it into refinement. So that's going to be gone, done away with. All right. Next thing I want to talk about is our fifth change, which is you get AD from dungeons. Okay. And I don't mean for just completing it. I mean to actually open up your chest at the end. And it means even those free chests, even in something like Shores, you can get AD. The AD is random, so just heads up on that. It varies. I watched somebody playing Dungeon, and they opened it up, and it was like, oh yeah, we got like 2,800 AD in here. It's like, oh great, I'll re-roll. And then it like went down to like 2,000. They re-rolled, and they got like 3,000. They re-rolled again. They got like 1,500. So just be aware that you can get a variety of AD for completing those dungeons. So and they're just using their free rerolls. So be aware that it's probably not going to be worth it to ever reroll unless you're in like a really high end dungeon. I'm talking like, oh god, probably anything beyond probably Castle Never. So unless you're looking for a Shard of Orcus one, then you can reroll in there. So that means everything that's in most difficult content, and if you're a really late game player, you might just be rerolling in Castle Ravenloft. We don't know. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. That is there. Next thing I want to talk about is our sixth change, which is refining stones from experience. rewards. So they're doing away with that. They're like, yep, this isn't going to be a thing. There's no point. And they might be just giving you straight refinement, but they're going to get rid of the stones from experience rewards. So you're not going to be able to double them or anything of the like. In addition to that, they're getting rid of refining stones in heroic encounters. So that's going to be done away with also. Next change is refining stones also won't be dropped, okay, from regular mobs. So this is kind of a big one. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, just pick up my amethyst, my black pearls, sometimes a peridot, you know, that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's not going to be a thing anymore. So just unless you have something that gives you something to make it drop, like an enchantment, they're not going to drop, okay? And the things I'm talking about are the things that, like here, where I have a Dragon's Horde enchantment that lets it drop a refining stone. Oops. Or you have a Fey Blessing that drops an enchantment, or a Quartermaster bag that drops the bags. As far as I know, the bags will not be changing, and none of the enchantments will. Okay, unless they're all going to change them to like the refining thing and just turns into refinement, which would be really weird. So, let's see. Auto loot. Okay, when you currently walk over gear, you have to actually press X to get it to go into your inventory unless it's gold. In mod 15, when you walk over stuff, it'll automatically loot straight to your inventory. So, or auto go through the looting process if you're in a group where you'll get a chance to roll. Which is kind of weird, but at the same time, I think it's really stupid, but at the same time, good. Okay? Because the reason why I call it stupid is because of what they're doing to the rest of the loot and what they're leaving in and what they're taking out. So, first thing I want to mention is they're taking out potions. Enemies will no longer drop potions of any kind. They're just gone. You're going to have to go to a shop to actually buy them. And for those specialty potions, and I'm talking about like potions of force and stuff like that, or fortification potions, as you can see here, they're going to be in those shops. So, no longer a thing. They're going to cost gold. Okay? Our next change is skill kits. Skill kits for opening up profession nodes. That means the ones that are like, oh, this is a dungeoneering, or this is a religion, and you need to have the kit for it to open it, or you have to be trained in it. Like I'm trained in religion. You have to go to a shop to actually buy those. Those are no longer dropping. So those are gone. Okay. I personally am happy about this because I never like picking up those things, and I never open up those things unless it's of my native skill thing, and I get criticized all the time by other players. Why don't you do that? I was like, it's not worth my time. Okay? I'm not going to stop for these things unless I think they're good to open. And yes, you can get some rare stuff sometimes. I have seen somebody get a Unified Elements out in the Sea of Moving Ice from a skill node. Okay? Is that good? Yes. Is it consistent? No. Did they ever do it more than once? They were never able to actually get a second one. So it was such a rare thing, I wouldn't even count on it. Okay? Treasures. Okay? So right now, when you look at my inventory, you're like, oh yeah, well, your inventory is just going to fill up with all those treasures. Man, they only stack to 20, and you could sell them. Well, that's what it currently is. These only stack up to 20, and they're adjusting it so that only one of these two will drop, and they will stack up to 100. Though I'm actually kind of curious if that's a misprinted thing, because some of these items go up to 99 only. So I'm wondering why it only goes up to 100. But I guess we do have other items that do stack up to 100. Dragon Horde coffers. But that is my biggest concern with that. I'm happy about this because people will be needing gold, and having auto loot for that is amazing. Okay, so this is much needed. Okay, this has been needed for such a long time, you have no idea. Okay, so next thing I want to talk about is green and purple gear. Okay, so green, blue, and purple to be precise. So sometimes you'll be running like a dungeon and you'll get like some green gear. I don't actually have any green gear that actually is uh, identifiable, but what you do is you get a piece of green gear, you identify it with a scroll, of identification, and you get to then turn it into refinement. You're going to be able to do that with blue items too. You can identify them. But here's the problem that I have with this entire process. The only gear that you need to identify are green and blue. Okay? Once you get to purple, they are no longer required to be identified. Okay? So either make purple gear needing to be identified, or you make them none of them required to be identified. Because I think that's the dumbest system ever. Okay? Just get rid of the scrolls of identification, okay? But right now, what it is that they're all just for refinement, okay? All right. I touched basis on it briefly about the key changes. Let's see if I can. Oops. So key changes. So your epic dungeon chest keys, as well as your regular dungeon chest keys, will be turned into rerolls for your end dungeon chest. So you get up to 4, like I mentioned earlier, which is nice. And when you have VIP, you'll be able to get an additional, I think, 3 a day. So, which is good, but it's not enough for the full amount. I was hoping that they would do it for the full 4, so you can actually go through a dungeon once a day and do full 4 rerolls. I think that would really help out players. Again, this is a system that I feel like should have been needed a long time ago. But this only applies to standard and epic dungeon keys. Okay? If it has an additional key requirement for, let's say, the other chest, you need to have that other chest key. That means if you're in like Malabog's Castle, you're gonna have 2 chests. One is going to be free that you get to reroll with that, and the other is going to require this key, and you can reroll it based off of these, which is really weird and dumb at the same time. Okay, so I think it's a horrible system in itself. Why not just make them all free and just allow the rerolls? Okay, convert these all to rerolls. Okay, and I understand the reason why they probably don't is because of these legendary dragon keys and the fact that it takes currencies to make the rest of these keys. Except for that, you have to buy those. Same with those. So it is kind of ridiculous. Yeah. Man, there's so many changes here. So it gets going really quickly when you start getting a mouthful here. Oh my god. In case anybody's wondering how many we're up to already for changes, we're already up to 14 changes. Okay, we haven't touched professions, we haven't touched any class changes. And I'm trying to remember what this is. Yeah, there's a lot of changes here. So yeah. Sorry, I had a moment there for a second. All right, so and last change that I almost forgot to talk about is with the key changes, they are changing our master dungeons. Okay, so this one's a little bit tricky because I don't know how I feel about it yet. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about Master Cragmire Crypt, Grey Wolf Den, and Temple of the Spider. So, or commonly known as ETOS. They're all changing a little bit. Not necessarily the mechanics or the difficulty or anything like that. I'm talking about they're changing for the end dungeon chest. So they're adding a new chest to each of those dungeons that will require a new key. I don't know what that key will be or how you would get it, but they said that they're adding it. So that might be a pro, might be a con. It depends on who you are, I guess. I don't see the point in running these dungeons in the first place, but I guess it'll entice more players to play them. So there's that. Um, Next change that we have is they're introducing a new campaign. Okay. As much as people have been saying it's a new campaign, it'll be interesting. I believe you get access to it when you are level 15 and it levels up kind of like with you. It's supposed to be an evolving campaign, I guess. Uh, it scales to you, more or less, instead of you scaling to it. So, which is, in my opinion, better because then it gives people access to new stuff sooner. My biggest concern with it is how difficult is it really going to be? Does it scale with item level or does it just scale with level? So that's my concern there. Uh, then we also have the rotating dungeon uh, event that apparently is going to be introduced. Kind of like Marauders almost, but it's a dungeon. And the objective in these dungeons is you're not supposed to die. Okay? Uh, they're scaled to your level, or they reduce you to the proper level, like regular dungeons. Like if you would run like uh, Cloak Tower, so you'd be scaled down to level 12. Okay, but they're supposed to be a lot harder scaling on the players, as well as uh, having an interesting perspective on exactly how they're going to work. Because if anybody dies, you fail the entire dungeon and you don't get any rewards. So that means if you're running through the dungeon and somebody's like, oh man, I got stuck, I can't move, and somebody says, defeat me, oh god, it's over. Okay, so just gonna deal with it. Okay, it's gonna be aggravating at first, but then people are probably gonna run it with just their friends, and it'll be lots of fun. And it'll change every week, and you get rewards based off of clearing it in that course of the week. So pretty cool. I think that was something that was much needed, and it also tries to get people to be the best that they can at what they do. But at the same time, it might not be that difficult to actually fulfill the requirements of not dying. I mean, I definitely don't have an issue unless we're running something like Ravenloft. So, which is really ridiculous because I'm not like best at slot or anything. So, um, all right. So that's the majority of the changes. I already talked about professions in a previous video, and there's a bunch of class changes that are coming out. I'm getting buffed, and everybody else is getting buffed, so it's kind of cool. But at the same time, just a heads up, it is really going to be tough in Mod 14 because a lot of classes are changing. I know my class is personally getting buffed, getting 14% damage increase. All my a lot of my encounters are actually getting reduced cooldowns and are becoming less interruptible. And not just that, but the stuff that might be getting nerfed is being unaffected for what I typically use. So I'm not worried about it in the slightest bit. But other classes were not so lucky. They're taking a lot of hits. So just keep in mind, if you're wanting the full details of exactly what's all being incorporated in your class changes, go check out the official forums. I couldn't even begin to try to describe the effects of any of the other classes because I just don't know. I'm sorry. And so that's why I said my class is getting pumped for the most part. Let's see. Uh, yeah, it's just ridiculous. So, with that being said, one of the major things I do want to talk about though is they've done a lot of things to try to make it so that you don't get as many of the resources to make gold. Okay, and you might be thinking, it's like, what are you talking about? It's like, well, remember when I was talking about all the skill kits and the potions and the other stuff not dropping anymore? Yeah, that's going to hit a lot of people's bottom line for gold. Plus, professions now requiring gold. Guess what's going to be in demand? Gold is going to be in demand. And I'm going to be honest with you, right now in mod 14, we don't have a demand for gold. Not even close. The only time we ever get a demand for gold is when we're prepping for something that's coming out in the future based on preview. So right now, I'm offering refinement for gold. Okay, so if you were interested, contact me on the PlayStation 4. If you're wondering what my character's name is, it's Ui Sasaki. Let's see. To be more precise, I'll even pull up my roster. There I am. So my online ID is Mize_Mune. So just contact me in game chat or whatever, or you can send me a PlayStation Network message. But what I am going to do is I'm going to be trading my refinement for gold. And you might be thinking, oh, what could you possibly offer me for that? Well, I'm basing my prices off the auction house, obviously. So I'm offering a single blood ruby for a stack of 99 Potions of Exalted Healing. Okay? Or I'll offer a full stack of Paradots for one of these. Okay? And I'll be honest with you, 100 times this is less, just barely less, than one of these. I mean, I guess I could offer you 100, but it's sometimes a little bit harder to just kind of divide up the stacks for that, so just kind of keep that in mind. But I will offer you equivalent, okay? I will offer you 5,000 refinement for every stack of Potions of Exalted Healing. And sometimes it might be a little bit tricky for me to figure out exactly how to do that. I mean, that's a stack of, you know, what, 50? No, my math's way off. I think it's like, oops, give me one moment. I said 5,000, and I'm going to divide this by 250. Yeah, it's a stack of 20 of the emeralds. Okay. For the flawless sapphires, it's a stack of 10. For black pearls, it's close to 500, which is kind of ridiculous if you ask me. But I know that's wrong because 100, so it's 50, stack of 50, not 500. Oh my god, my math's off. So yeah, I'll offer you 50 black pearls for it. I'll offer you 5 black opals for a stack. And unfortunately, I can't offer you any aquamarines unless I'm coming up short somewhere. Simply because I just don't have it. So I can do a variety of things. Just kind of look me up. So again, that offer sits until I'm out of refinement. Or even really up to the deadline of mod 15 dropping. I'm going to be kind of scattered, but if you send me a message, I'll do my best to try to meet you to do the trade, because all I'm going to do is sell them. So if you can offer me 24 gold for the refinement, for the 5,000 refinement, I'll do that too. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a stack of these, because all I'm going to do is sell them, and I think they're worth like 24 gold and like 75 silver. So I'll cut it down to, you know, that additional step if you're willing to just give me straight gold. Yeah, let's take a look. Yeah, so you can see down there in the bottom left corner, it's 24 gold, 75 silver, 0 copper. They're normally 25 silver a piece. I'm going to tell you right now, I do not recommend you spending your own gold to buy these, because all I'm going to do is sell them. So kind of keep that in mind when you're making an offer. Hopefully this has been interesting and informative, and it's just kind of ridiculous. If I really had to count how many changes were in this mod coming up, I'd say more than 30 at least. Okay, because it's just so many things that they're changing between professions, class changes, and all the other stuff I talked about. So do me a big favor, make comment if you have any questions, or you want to comment on the video. You know, like, subscribe if you want. I'm not really a big YouTuber. I don't really get any money at all. Like, I don't get money at all because I just don't make enough content. Uh, but I love hearing back from you guys, and maybe you have your own like strategies on how you're going to prepare for mod 15. Like, tell me, how are you going to prepare for mod 15? How are those around you going to be preparing for mod 15? Is there any crazy uh, predictions on what will happen to the economy, on the player base, and maybe even you? So I'm kind of curious to hear back from you guys on this. All right. And I will thank everybody again for watching, and hopefully this video wasn't too long. My goal was to make it relatively short this time, but I sometimes get a little bit long-winded. All right, thank you, and this has been Moonay with More Than Peachy's Gaming, and I've been playing Neverwinter.